And welcome to this meeting. I've got some housekeeping notices here just to read before we start. The meeting will be recorded and live streamed by HDC. Members and officers must use the desk microphones in order for this to work. Only 2 microphones in addition to the chairman's can be on at the same time. Mobile phones, members and the public should switch off phones. Fire exits, I've just discovered there is one fire exit, it's marked there behind you. I thought that was also, I think it probably would be, but that's the main one anyway. So there we go. Okay, before this meeting can proceed, it's my duty as chairman of Harborough District Council to request a nomination or nominations for chairman. So accordingly, I now ask for a nomination for chairman. Councillor Asher.
Yeah, I'd like to nominate Councillor Knowles, please.
Thank you. Could we have a seconder for that? Councillor Anderson.
I'd also like to nominate Councillor Knowles.
Thank you. Are there any other nominations? No? Okay, so that is carried. Councillor Knowles, would you like to come and take the chair?
I'll take it from that. Thanks a lot.
My water. Please.
Just put all the bits and pieces in place first, I think. Well, thank you for that. Before we start the meeting, I just want to make sure we've got all a piece of paper in place. I'll just ask you to bear with me for a minute. Okay, well, good evening, everyone. Can we start off by introducing the members of the committee, because I know this is our first meeting. I think it's appropriate that we do that, so it's a matter of record. So can we start at the end there with you, Councillor Anderson?
Hello, I'm Councillor Anderson and I'm newly elected councillor for Great Bowden and Arden Ward.
Councillor Joe Asher from Lebanon Ward.
Simon Wellbank, Kibworths.
Michael Rickman, representing the Neville Ward.
Councillor Johnson, Logan Ward.
Right, thank you very much. We've had the investiture of chairman and declaration of acceptance. I don't think there's any no documents to sign, is it? No, good. Okay. Apologies for absence. We have an apology, I believe, from Councillor King, with Councillor Wellband substituting for him. Any other apologies at all? No. Okay, fine. Thanks very much indeed. Right, we move on then to item 4, which is the draft Constitutional Review Committee minutes of the 26th.
Sorry, Chair, could I point a point of order, please?
Yes, certainly.
And that is to ask about Councillor Johnson's membership of this committee, being the chair of the council and being non-political. Usually it's the case that the chair of the council doesn't attend committee meetings. Could I just get some clarity from the monitoring officer, please?
That's been perhaps custom and practice, but isn't contained within the constitution, as far as I'm aware, as a restriction. She is not here in her capacity as chair. You can take your chain off, Councillor Johnson. She's here as a member of the committee appointed by her group. Thank you.
That's fine. It does say that in the constitution at the moment, the office of the chairman of the district council is a neutral office and is expected to behave impartially. Now, I appreciate this isn't a party political committee, but in the papers tonight, it does say that we are changing things because of the new administration. So potentially it could be veering into that territory.
Yeah, when she is sitting in her office as chair, in the role of chair, she is expected to be neutral. When she is attending a committee meeting as a member of that committee, as an appointed councillor, she is of course entitled to still have those political views. So I would expect when acting as the chair of the council, she would not act in such a political way. When she's participating as an ordinary member of the council, then she can.
Thank you.
Does that answer your questions, Councillor Wellband? Thank you very much. Thank you for raising it. Right, so we move on from there to the, as I say, draft Constitutional Review Committee minutes of the 26th of April 2023. First of all, I'm looking for someone who will move them as an accurate record, and then we'll refer back to them to see if there's any comments people wish to make. Is somebody like to move them as an accurate record? Well, I wasn't there for a short time and I was watching from the public gallery, so I don't count. So what do we do? What's the
Well, the situation is that that is the record that has been put forward. The publisher, excuse me, the papers have been duly published. I'm not aware that anybody has raised any issue of those who have been re-elected who were in attendance. And I think, Chair, it's a matter for the meeting to consider whether or not they accept that the minutes prepared by officers are a fair reflection of what happened. You, obviously, if you were watching, may be able to give some assurance on that as well. But simply because nobody who was present at that meeting is part of the committee tonight does not mean that the minutes cannot be approved.
okay? Councillor Johnson.
Yes, I would like to suggest a couple of amendments. In the present.
Hold on, I think first of all we need to get them adopted as an accurate record.
Right, okay, fine.
Well, I listened to it for 2.5 hours late at night, so I think it's a fairly accurate record of what happened. So I'm happy to move that from the chair. Is someone prepared to second it? Thank you very much, Councillor Rickman. So all in favour? Anyone against? You don't look happy, Councillor Wellband.
I wasn't there, so
No, I wasn't on the committee. I'm afraid we've been caught in a bit of a cleft stick with that one. So there we go. Councillor Johnson, you wanted to make a comment about amendments?
Yes.
Well, not amendments, that'd be comments, actually.
I'd like to see the inclusion of Councillor Simpson in the present because we were and she was in there for a short time. So she should be there in the present list. And in number 2, I'm known as Councillor Johnson. So if you please take out the Mrs. there. And I think that's it. Thank you very much.
That's the officers, if they can note that.
We can, and we'll see that Councillor Simpson does appear at number 2 for some reason. I have not included her in the present. So I
Okay.
apologise and I will make those amendments.
Thank you very much. Any other comments at all? No? Okay. We move on then to item 5, which is the declaration of members' interests. Are there any interests? Anyone needs to declare? No? Okay. Right, we move on to item 6, which is the update on the review of the Constitution. I think, if I can say a few words first, I think we all agree that the Constitution is in need of review. It's in need of revision in certain areas. I've had some fairly lengthy discussions with the officers, and I thank them very much for the time that they've given me on that. I think the bottom line is that whatever we do with the Constitution, the important thing is that we actually ensure that all members are actually involved in the discussions and have the opportunity to comment. I don't think it's right or proper just to restrict it to input from this committee. And I hope you would agree with that. If you don't, tell me. I very much hope that we can actually broaden this out so we've got an input, as I say, from every member. What I'd like to say really is that we don't want to get ourselves bogged down in having 10 or 12 meetings trying to work this out, I don't think, because it's going to be extremely time consuming, and we're entering a period of the year when a lot of people are going to be away on holiday. We know we have Councillor Wellband here tonight substituting. We're missing one member who should be here tonight, and that's going to, over the next few weeks, we're going to see other people going away. So it's going to be difficult to call meetings. I think what might be an appropriate way forward is, and I've discussed this with our monitoring officer, is that if we look to actually break down the sections of the Constitution that need to be looked at, break them down into manageable chunks. I think that's the best way we can describe it. And that those are emailed out to every member or made available to every member in whichever way that we want to do it. And then the members can come back with their comments on those specific chunks. And then the next one goes out. And that way we can cover off every item and everyone gets the opportunity to comment on all of the different sections. So that's what I intend to suggest tonight as a good way forward, because I think it, as I say, it's inclusive. It brings everyone, all our colleagues into this so they can all have their say on it. And secondly, it also gives the officers the opportunity to collate the information as it comes back in, and we can put it all together and then bring back the final piece of work, if you like, back to this committee. I think it's October, isn't it? Yeah, in October. And then everyone can sit down and look at it in the round and see what we've got. So on that, as I say, that's what I would suggest is a way forward. Does anyone want to make any comments at all? No? I'll Councillor Wellband.
I mean, I agree with breaking it down into different sections. That's perfectly acceptable. I just wondered about consulting with the wider members via email. Sometimes it doesn't come across how important these things are via email, and so opportunities may be missed. So I think there maybe needs to be another way of engaging members rather than just sending out a blanket email to all members. That's all I'd say on that.
No, please, can you expand on? I mean, please, what would you recommend as a way of actually achieving greater input? I think it's important. If you've got an idea on it, please share.
I mean, I don't have a specific idea. We use Teams meetings very well already. So opening it up to members, probably as a virtual meeting, getting people together is a good way, I think. If we invite people to meetings of this committee, I think that's also a very, very good idea, which we've done in the past, I believe. So it's just a way of bringing members into the process to engage with them rather than just sending out an email.
Yeah, I think the problem we've got with that is the Chief Exec wants to come in.
We have an all members briefing scheduled for the 21st of September. Perhaps we could use that for the constitutional review comments and make sure that everybody's had all the documentation prior to that so that we can
do that.
Comments on
Not
that.
a problem at all. I mean, as far as I'm concerned, it's whichever way is simplest to engage everyone. So I have no problems at all. Councillor Rickman.
I think that's a very good idea from the interim deputy chief executive, but at the same time, if you're going to actually break it down into chunks, you'll only get through one chunk, if you like, in one training session, in one briefing. So it's a question of actually how we deal with the other sections that need looking at.
No, we need to send that.
But if I might say,
Please.
yeah. There we go. I think most members know or have started to get an appreciation of the importance of the document and the importance of the work that needs to be done with that. And it's clear through discussions that we've had as a committee, as individuals in various different locations, that there is a preference for everyone to be able to input into every part of it. I get your point, Councillor Wellband, that not everybody might pick up on it. We cannot expect that everybody will contribute. It's about making sure they have the opportunity to contribute if they wish to. And therefore, I think there are a number of options that could be done, and something for the committee to consider is perhaps the timescales to look at. I'd suggested in the report that we could come back with a plan and a project plan and the resource and how long that would actually take. That is going to be a much longer process than if we do things a little bit more organically. Now, if we're doing things a bit more organically, there are a number of different ways we can do it, and it doesn't need to be just one. You could have things being emailed out to people with a brief explanation with it. So I'm not just talking about sending out the revised constitution. I would have annotations with notes on it, and then people would be able to read it and respond as they saw fit. I've also suggested to the chair that it would be sensible to constitute this committee as a task and finish group as well, so that if you wanted to have a quick meeting on Teams to discuss a contentious issue. So if I was to say to you, oh, Article 7 is really causing a lot of feedback and we need some debate as to how it's actually going to be resolved, we could then use the task and finish of the committee to then be able to resolve the issues. And the feedbacks or the member briefing session before the end of September, we could use again to try and promote the consciousness of the members as to what's actually being promoted. Now, you have the Constitution Review Committee scheduled for the beginning of October. If we are able to get the work through and done by then obviously the updated or the proposed updated constitution could go forward to council in December. But it's really a matter for you as a committee to decide what sort of timescale you are comfortable with, and then what mechanisms you would like us to utilise to get through the work that needs to be got through.
What about if we, and I said, I'm just putting ideas on the table like everyone else on this. What about if we work to this idea of sending out the chunks with an alert to everyone saying, look, these are here, they're on the way. And then we use the all-member briefing in September as a catch-up to explain to people where we are and what's going on. So that, but I think we need a mechanism just to say to them, you really must read this, which I think is something we've supposed to.
Chief Executive has just kindly volunteered for officers to present and record introductions to the chunk. So that's the other way we could do it. We could actually do it as a posted video, just us sitting in an office talking to you, and then members can watch it when they want. So it's kind of like an all-member briefing, but accessible as and when you want, which again, perhaps might be more accessible for some if we do that in conjunction with the notes on the written document. Then, you know, it's as accessible as we can make it. I cannot make everybody read all of the document. Not everyone will read all of the document. Some people deliberately won't read it, but we have given them an opportunity.
If you said,
Yeah, and just to say, you as the committee obviously will be reporting back to your groups and encouraging others to do it. So when you know there's something coming up through your group conversations and through the dialogues you have with the rest of your group, you can encourage your group to do that. And through your portfolio holder and shadow portfolio holders for this area, they can also advocate for it. So there's lots of different ways of engaging people and lots of different ways of communicating to people, but you as members need to take some responsibility for getting your fellow members to join the party, as it were. Officers can't keep putting out information all the time. You need to do some of that work for us as well.
Councillor Rickman, then Councillor Johnson.
Thank you, Chair. Do we know sort of how many sort of areas, specific areas that actually need to be looked at? Is it 4, 6, whatever? 4. All. Because the thing that strikes me is that sometimes when we have a briefing, we have questions that are made at that briefing, and then questions arise from the questions, and it actually starts to expand. So doing it by email doesn't give you that opportunity. And it's really sort of when you've got a question, you ask the question, back comes the answer, and that actually promotes another question, if you see what I mean. So this is where the discussion comes, where it's cross.
Yeah, I think so.
Way.
Yeah, but I mean, basically, as I said, this was just put ideas on the table tonight because this is important. We decide how we're going to do this because we need the engagement. It is a big job. There's no two ways about it. There has been little or no review of this constitution for quite some considerable time. It should have been done annually. It hasn't been. For whatever reason, it hasn't been. So we're in a situation where we're playing catch up at a major scale. So I think it really is open to the committee tonight just to come up with some ideas and to try and come up with a way of moving this forward that is workable for the officers and that will encourage members to engage. So it's as open as that, Chief Executive.
So I've just got my first sort of thought or question for you is, how long do you want this to take? So if you want it to be short and sharp, then you need to meet more regularly if you want meetings on it. If you want to take longer, then your constitution will still be not up to date for a longer period of time, and there is risk around the governance there. So the first thing is, how long do you want to leave your constitution in its state, and when do you want it to be updated by? If we're trying to get to an October deadline for the next meeting, then you will have to commit yourselves. If you want these meetings and you want interaction and these things, you will have to commit yourself and every other one of the 34 members, because you want every one of them to be involved in this, to lots of meetings between now and the end of September, because we will have to write the report ready for the October. So that is, you're talking a meeting every other week on the constitution to get to that date. If you want meetings all the time, And that's a lot of meetings and a lot of time and commitment for members to come forward and to be part of those meetings. You might get not many of you 34 turning up to the one in the 6th week going forward. So just think about the timeline and the commitment that you are making on behalf of your fellow councillors for the way forward that you propose. That's just my guidance
No,
before you
thank
make
you.
decisions.
Councillor Rickman.
Yeah, I think October is unrealistic. Quite frankly, I think it's totally unrealistic. You've got July and August, the children break up soon.
True.
You've got August, which is the massive area that people go on holiday, even though we've got lovely weather here. They don't really need to go away. I haven't been away and I've got a good tan. So I think October is unrealistic, because the other thing that we also got to deal with as members of a party is the change of boundaries, and that is going to involve a lot of meetings as well. I know that doesn't affect Harborough District Council, but it does affect a lot of the people that are actually involved in it. So I think it's got to be a longer process than October. October is too short for me anyway.
Okay.
I don't know what other, I'm
No, thank
willing
you.
to hear what other people think.
Thank you. Councillor Johnson.
Really, I favour a mix of the two. I think it would be very good for individuals. We work as individuals a lot of the time. You know, to think it through for themselves first, and then we could move to probably by September, the group meetings or whatever we have. And I also favour Claire's idea of the annotation as well.
I think an important point for me from the chair is what Councillor Rickman's just said. I think you can either do this fast or you can do it right. And the thing is, I think it has to be done right. Now, maybe we have to rely on the good offices of our officers to say, look, so start with this part or this section for reasons that they will know. So we have to look at that. But I think if we can find a mix, because my biggest fear is that we should involve everyone. Absolutely right that we should. But if we get to a point where we find there's only half a dozen people who are actually contributing and it turns out to be the same ones who are on here, then we haven't got it right. We have to find some mechanism that will actually encourage other members. Now, whether that is send out, use the word email again, send out an email or whatever however we do it, saying, here's the information, it's on the way, so you can have a look at it, whether we use the chief executive's method and say, this is on its way out to you, and then they sit down and they can watch it. Whatever it happens to be, we have to make sure they're alert to the fact that it's coming and that they'll react to it. What I think the problem is if we start trying to tie people down to a meeting every 2 weeks, added on top of everything else that's going on, you're going to get, I don't say burnout, but you're going to get a real problem, because people are going to be trying to fit in all the other meetings and this, and it's really going to cause problems. And I suggest it's not going to be very helpful to the officers, because the officers are going to be rushed off their feet trying to sort it out on top of everything else that we've been talking about. So I think that we have to find that middle way, that hybrid, if you like, to actually deliver this. So I think there's absolutely agreeing with what Councillor Rickman has said about the timings of this. I think that's important that we start by saying it's got to be right. If it takes the time, it's got to be taken. We've had this situation with the Constitution where it hasn't been reviewed since goodness knows when. And obviously that's something we've got to live with. It's just a statement of fact. It's just how we deliver this consultation and input with our council in its entirety. So they're all 34 are coming back in. If you've any bright ideas, Claire, please tell them on the table.
I wouldn't say it's bright ideas. Obviously, members are aware, those who were on the council previously, that quite a substantial amount of work has already been done in relation to this and presented to previous committees and previous briefings, etc., being done. So we are not starting from a position of no information or nothing to do. As Liz says, we can do it quick-ish and right. Just doing it quick, you know, we're not interested in doing it wrong. In terms of doing it in chunks, however we break it down it won't go forward till council until all parts have been done, because as we explained in every meeting and every governance section that we've done, you can't just adopt parts of it and then move on, because that just builds in more jeopardy and more areas where it doesn't mesh together as a document. So the council meeting that we've got is in December. It is possible that we could look perhaps at doing an extraordinary CRC in later October or into November and still make that December. So we have more working time outside of the holiday period and still look to make the December council meeting if you wish. Alternatively, we can push it back into next year, but then you start getting into budget councils and there is other business which needs to be transacted. And to be brutally honest, if you give yourself a deadline to work to, you've got a much better chance of meeting it than if you don't have a deadline and it's just left open-ended. That's human nature, I'm afraid. So, there are mechanisms that we can use. I think the other thing that I would just like to say is that I agree we should try and encourage people to get involved. Not everyone will be interested. Not everybody thinks governance is great like I do, and they won't necessarily all respond. So I think that we need to adjust the expectations as to how many people will respond. The important thing to my mind is making sure that they can't say they haven't been allowed to get involved. And I think if we do these sort of multiple strategy of multiple different ways of interacting, that gives you the best shot of being able to explain. And of course, whatever you come up with as a committee and you approve, it's a living document. It's not going to stay the same. It will be changed, incrementally. It's just because there's so much to do to pull back all of the other things that have gone on that it appears such a big thing. But I'm really hopeful that we can actually communicate it in a way which demystifies it a little bit and makes it a better document. And maybe people will then get interested in it as an exercise.
Anybody got any suggestions? That's it.
Yeah, when you were talking about the video thing, would that be sort of available on Teams so people could then comment and then you could go back on and read people's comments?
Not
It wouldn't stay live, I guess.
No.
So it would be a video for you to watch, like a YouTube
Yeah.
type video. So you wouldn't be able to comment on the actual video and put chats in,
Okay.
but you could use the video and annotate your own notes
Yeah.
and then send those in as questions after you've watched the video. And you can always watch the video back multiple times if you don't understand something and rewind. So it would be almost like a YouTube type video
Yeah.
that is one way, but a learning tool.
But it's a tool to enable us to collate back the information. That's
And I think that's the important thing from my point of view. We at the moment already have a SharePoint site set up with constitution information on and briefings on.
Yeah.
Recordings of previous presentations are all on there. They still potentially would be relevant. And the mechanisms by which we gather people's responses, I don't think it's any secret that I'm a big fan of forms. I'm a particularly big fan of forms when it comes to amending the Constitution, because that feeds straight through into an Excel spreadsheet that I can easily send to the committee as this is the comment, this is the section they're commenting on, this is what they propose, and this is what the outcome is. It is an efficient way of doing things. If people choose to print out a Word document and to handwrite it on, all that means is we have to then copy type all of the information in so that you as a committee have got that information there. So
Yeah.
again, the more we can ask people to put things in digitally, I get where you're coming from in terms of the video. And I think that if we had it on the Teams site, there are chat functions that you would be able to perhaps put the chat function in and we pick them up later to collate,
Yeah.
but it wouldn't be the interactive process because we wouldn't broadcast it. We
No.
would literally just put it up on a website and you watch it at your convenience. But that's what it's about. It's about having the flexibility and saying people can watch it in their own time. Problem with that is that we have to get, or people have to make the effort to do that. If it's a set time and it's a set presentation, it's a case of, well, I need to be there at that date and time and I'll sit and listen to it then. So there's pros and cons both ways.
I'm just thinking about sharing the questions or sharing the ideas so that everyone can see what's come in at the same time. And I thought if it was live, if the chat was left open if there is a way of doing that. It's a way of people being able to see what's been said, so you're not repeating yourself.
I think the thing is we need that information to come back into here rather than, because if we get the same comment 34 times.
Yeah, then we know.
Then we know 34 people are saying,
Yeah.
yeah, they agree with that.
Yeah,
If one person puts it on there and somebody else says, oh, I'm not going to bother commenting on that.
yeah,
Because it's on there, so we wouldn't want to do that.
The mini website, the SharePoint site that we have does have the capability for chats and frequently asked questions. And that actually would be the ideal place for that sort of interaction. Now, I check what's going on there, and if people were able to use that and they had a question, coming back to what Councillor Rickman was saying about questions begetting or answers begetting more questions, then that would be something that we could look to do that. And as you say, pulling together common themes, if it's a common misunderstanding about how I've articulated, then how do I sort it? Or do we convene a task and finish of you to say, right, these are the different options, which one are we going to pick? Because we've got 3 potential options for this particular scenario. So
yeah.
we can still do that if we set up a task and finish to almost be in a court of arbitration as to what's going on. Then you can still be influencing it and shaping it, and then putting it back out again to say, well, how about this? But
I think that's one of the things we need to do tonight. We need to take a vote on actually accepting the fact that we can be called in as a task and finish panel. So the officers have got the mechanism to do that. So should we need to do it, we can do it. But obviously that's somewhere down the line, I think, at the moment. So, I mean, Michael, please.
Thank you, Chair. I think the videos will be a good idea, really good idea. I think that it's really important, though, when the videos are made, that if you're talking about a certain rule, you actually explain why it has to be changed and the ramifications of not changing it, because you have to have cause and effect within the video, so that people are very clear, because there is a tendency for people not to take on board the effect of something seemingly innocuous.
Okay.
But it can actually have serious ramifications. So, I mean, that's down obviously to the officers and
That's a good point, Michael. It's
clear explanation. But I think that is massively important with the videos, that it is not only instructional but informative.
I think the officers have taken that one on board and it's on the tape, so we can refer back to it. Anyone else want to make any comments? Simon, please.
When have we got this briefing on the Constitution? September, did you say?
That's an all-member briefing, but we can.
So you can either use that date, or you could use, there's an all-member briefing on the 26th of October, or there's an all-member briefing that's scheduled for the 9th of November. So you've got 3 all-member briefings, all between the time that you need to make the decision in December, and you can use any one or all of them should you wish.
And a lot of work has already gone into this already, as we already know. Just wondering whether to push it back slightly, allow some of the work to take place, then use a later briefing to basically do a more interactive session with members to allow them to, and taking on board Michael's point, and allow people to have a bit back and forth, and they've got further questions, they can do that in a bit more of a two-way process.
It'll also allow a bit of a debate inside the groups. I mean, it's entirely up to you. You know, this is not being delivered sort of predetermined. It's decide tonight which is the best way.
I would
to
suggest
deliver
that you still keep the CRC date for the beginning of October,
Yeah, we
because
keep that.
inevitably there will be some things and that will be a focal point.
Yeah.
It may be that you have a more public briefing at that point and have almost a secondary consultation phase where those who might not have appreciated the job can actually then have almost a second bite of the cherry. The committee could then meet again in November with a view to finalising something to go to December council. If at that point it's still not in a position to go, then obviously you make the decision to hold off. But hopefully putting that in place, if we translate that into an engagement plan which we can put out to everybody, then that will hopefully you know, do the best that we can do.
Yeah. No, thanks for that, Simon.
If it's something we have to do every year, should we really think as well about going forward for the timing? So if it becomes an annual event, when do we look at, obviously it won't be such a big task next time, I wouldn't have thought, but we've got to be mindful of when we do it, as in not near the elections.
If I could just clarify with that, the once we've done this big one, then a little bit of stitching time will mean that you would not have the same level of involvement that you have to do, and it will be more organic.
Yeah.
The other thing is that as the CRC, what you should have been getting is updates in terms of if the monitoring officer, I do have some delegated authority to make administrative changes, that should be being reported back to the CRC every time you meet. So these are the tweaks that have had to be made. There won't be anything fundamental because fundamental things will come through the committee. The things that are likely to have to change going forward are going to be the updates that you end up doing to the committees or to how the authority operates, because at the moment we've just approved how it was previously, and as you get through the reviews of terms of reference for all of the committees, you know, there will be more things still to do, but absolutely that's the work of the committee, and it will be almost the committee's work plan to get that done. Yes, we've got a constitution review committee then in April. But that should just be put it all together.
So it would, if I may chat.
Please, yes.
So we would normally take the annual review of the constitution to the annual council in May. So the constitution review committee in April should be the one that is saying we agree this and this is what we're referring forward to the annual council. So that, as Claire said, all the hard work and the heavy lifting will be done to get it up to date, and then it is just keeping it up to date. So minor changes. So the review in April should not be significant and should be able to deal with it normally.
Should just be tidying up.
Yeah,
Really.
it would
Yeah.
indeed.
Yeah. Okay, anyone else want to make any comments before we try and pull it together in some way, shape or form? No? Right.
So I try and summarise it then. So first things first, can we all agree that you wish to be constituted as a task and finish group to act as a court of arbitration in the event that issues are cropping up, which means simply that you meet as the committee but without having to have formal notice given, 5 days, agenda, minutes, etc., etc. It means I can call it online, hybrid, telephone, email, however.
Okay.
Can everyone, can I technically a proposer and seconder?
Yeah, okay, could someone propose that? Right, there you go. Thank you very much, Simon. Seconder, councillor Rickman. All those in favour? Anyone against? That's unanimous. That's the first thing done and dusted.
Excellent. Right, and so following on from that, are we all in agree? Are you all in agreement that you want to have as many different ways of trying to engage with the whole of the council, all 34?
Yes.
And that may include emails, videos, forms, paper versions,
Knocking on the door.
owls, knocking on doors, leaflets, whatever. I will take the information from any member on feeding back on the constitution. I'm not precious about that. I would urge you to get your colleagues to do it electronically because it's more efficient.
And green.
And green, and it's more efficient and means that it's less likely that things will get missed. But if perhaps I put together an action plan and email it out to you as a task and finish, you'll be able to authorise and approve that just by looking at it, and then hopefully we can have a plan. And if everyone's in agreement with that, hopefully, I then would want to perhaps ask for indication. Do you want us to start at section 1 and work through? Would seem logical.
Okay, so first of all, you've heard what Claire has, I was going to say proposed there, but suggested. Would somebody like to formally move that? Michael, thank you. Is there a seconder? Joe, thank you. So that's been moved and seconded. All those in favour? Anyone against? No, that's carried unanimously. Would somebody like to move that we start at number 1 and work progressively through? Councillor Johnson. Thank you. Is there a seconder? Councillor Rickman. All those in favour? Anyone against? No, that's carried unanimously as well. It, isn't it?
I think, yes, I think,
Right.
Chair, that actually covers everything that
We
we
need-
do need it to cover.
Okay.
What are we saying about the all member brief? Did we agree a date for that to happen.
I can do that as part of the communication plan, but we
Be in
can
there,
purpose them
absolutely.
as and when.
Okay, thank you.
That won't be missed, honestly. Right, councillor Johnson.
Just going to say. You know, your mail.
Put your microphone.
Sorry, thank you. Yes, can we have a list of dates so that we can see it, you know, the horror of it? Yes.
Yeah, no problems. Okay. Well, I think on that, as far as I know, there's no urgent business. So I declare the meeting closed at 10 minutes past 7. And thank you very much for attending.